Hey guys, I'm Lee Morris with Fstoppers.com. This is Mike Kelly, the architectural photographer. And in front of us here, you will see that we have 3 different portfolios from 3 very different genres of photography.
So the purpose of this video is to give you guys insight as to how 3 different photographers approach building and selecting their pictures for a portfolio book.
So the company Saal Digital recently reached out to us at Fstoppers and they said, we want to supply you guys with 3 portfolio books and we want you guys to do a video where you kind of critique the books, but more importantly, you talk about what it takes to make a good portfolio. And instead of using our own images here at Fstoppers, we thought we'd reach out to 3 photographers that we really look up to and we already work with. And so the first one that we're gonna start out with is Mike Kelly's book on architectural photography. Quickly tell me what options you chose here for the cover of this book and then for the pages themselves.
So the cover here is a off-white linen wrap. It's built into a hardcover sort of lay flat binding, which is really nice. And I also chose there's like a thick kind of nice paper stock with a matte finish. I didn't really go for the glossy. I'm not a big fan of glossy for architectural photos. And I have a cover page here which you open up to. And immediately you can kind of get right into the pictures. The first picture I chose here, bam, you gotta hit him with something strong, you know what I mean?
So who is this for? Is this for client meetings in person? Are you mailing this book out?
So yeah, this book, it's a bit smaller than my normal portfolio book, and it allows me to send it to clients very easily, but I can also take it along with me. One of the problems I have with my current portfolio book is it's 11 by 17, and it's just so big to carry around, especially when I'm flying. It's costly to ship, and the other thing is the desk real estate that it takes up. When you open up a 17-inch wide book, it's really almost 30 inches across. That's a big ask to have someone sit there and go through that for a couple hours. So this is a smaller sort of light portfolio, if you will, that I can easily kind of send out to my clients. This is something they can flip through pretty easily. It's easy to transport, easy to ship.
So how do you ship this? I've never worked with something like this before. Are you putting this in a box with a return label and then just asking them to return it in a week or so?
Yeah, exactly. They'll know it's coming. I'm not just sending it to them blind and saying, oh, do this thing, go to FedEx, ship it back to me.
Yeah.
I'll say, hey, I want to send you my new book. Would you mind? And they say, oh, happy to have it, ship it over. And I'll send it, like you said, in a box with a return label included in there, so it's really no sweat off of their back. The book also comes with a nice presentation box. Here it is here. And it fits perfectly inside of this to kind of protect it in shipping. This is kind of an unbranded, simple way to keep it safe, keep it protected. And it's kind of a classy, right? It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks nice. My question is for you, do you also mail things out that you allow potential clients to keep? I think we've talked in the past and you've had other mailers. I would imagine this is too expensive to give away for free.
I used to do that.
Okay.
But I mean, if I had to sacrifice this to ensure that I'd keep the client forever, I would happily do that.
Okay.
But I mean, this is, as you said, pretty expensive book to just send out and give out. It's not kind of something that I'm mailing to a client as a one-time thing. This is something that typically I'd bring to a meeting or they would send back.
Now, as I flip through this, I'm noticing that you have a very specific theme going on here. Mm-hmm. I know you shoot a lot of homes, but I don't know that I've seen a single home yet.
Yeah, well, as you get to the end, I've kind of set up the book to flow in a certain way. I'm going after sort of a specific subset of high-end commercial architects here. I've kind of got to the point in my career where that's what interests me and that's what I want to go after. That also being said, I don't really want to show this to a potential architect who does work in multiple disciplines. And he said, do you ever shoot homes? I can shoot, of course I do. Flip to the end and there's a bunch. But I also organize it in such a way to have a bit of a flow. I hope you also realize that. It goes from high rises to commercial architecture, and then the scale and the shape of the subjects in the book should have a good flow to it.
So the book looks awesome.
Yeah.
I think any of your potential clients are going to love it, but there is one strange decision that you've made, and I need you to justify it for me here. Why isn't your logo or your name on the binding or the cover of this book?
Well, I think the linen cover here is the classiest thing that was available by a good margin. And I would have loved to put like an embossed logo on my other portfolio, to have an embossed logo, but that wasn't an option. But I do love the feel, the texture. It's not going to get covered with fingerprints. I'm not going to have to clean it. It's kind of a durable thing. It's got this nice sort of like waxy sheen to it to keep it clean, which is really cool. I know your immediate concern. You started making fun of me as soon as I pulled it out. You're like, that's gonna get so dirty.
Well, especially if you're mailing it around the country.
But now that you see it and you touch it, like, do you still agree with that?
It depends on how kind your potential clients are to this book.
I mean, if they're gonna put their coffee mug on it, then I think we're screwed no matter what. But
Right.
I do think this is a really classy, simple way to present a portfolio. There's no judgment being made immediately on the cover. I also think that, you know, once you open it up and you see there's the logo and the word mark, and you get right into it, you know, I think it's pretty straightforward as to what's going on. I think especially the clients that I'm going after appreciate the simplicity, and they're into that sort of, it's not this rambunctious, loud book, it's a quiet, simple thing. So that's kind of why I went with the no image on the cover. I love the linen, and I didn't want to get something glossy that was going to get covered in fingerprints, so I kept it simple and clean. You'll also notice I went with the matte paper inside. The paper that they use is actually, I was surprised at how high quality it is, and it has this like fingerprint-free, again, you can touch the pages and it doesn't really pick up fingerprints like a gloss would. And the clients I'm going for, again, understated, sort of soft, gentle quality to it that I think they'll really appreciate. So.
Yeah, so I'm noticing that, you know, for the most part, you just have 1 or 2 images on each spread here. Did you design this specifically for this album, or did you already have this made? Did you just drop in photos? How does it work?
So this was entirely custom. They do have sort of an auto layout feature in their software. I tried it. I didn't totally love the results, and plus I'm kind of, you know me, I'm a stickler for detail and getting things exact. So I went through, and I have a little bit of experience in book design. I've released a couple books at this point, and I kind of knew what I wanted. I wanted things to breathe. I wanted things to be impactful. So I really stuck to the, you know, either full page, two-page spreads here like this, or kind of 1 image on one side, all the way to the edge for maximum impact. And then again, depending on the aspect ratio, I kind of gave it some padding or something around the edges of the image. Now there's a few images in here where I sort of broke my own rule. Like, let me find one example here. For example, I think this 3-image spread is very powerful, but each image sort of has a similarity, right? They're all these 1-point perspective, very strong graphic images, and I think you can get away with it here. I immediately follow that up with this full page spread, again, for maximum impact. And I do think that the nice lay flat binding here really helps you get away with that, which is very nice.
So what do you tell photographers who, you know, don't have a print portfolio yet? Because I really think having a print portfolio this day and age is setting the professionals apart from the amateurs more than ever before.
Yeah.
Because in the past, without the internet and laptops and iPads and everything, everybody had printed photos.
Yeah.
And now, like, nobody has printed photos. So I have to imagine if you're trying to win over a client.
Okay, this is anecdotal experience here. When I've gone into client meetings and I've brought the fancy iPad Pro, and I've said, here's my portfolio. No one cares. Everyone has an iPad with pictures on it. It doesn't have the same feeling or weight that a printed portfolio has. There's a real impact that goes along with having a printed portfolio, and you can really get in and look at this, and they're not covered with fingerprints. You know, like an iPad, everyone touches it, and it looks like they rubbed their face on it or something, because there's so many fingerprints and it's gross, and you bring your laptop, and no matter how much you clean it, it's still a 3-year-old MacBook Pro, and it looks cheap. So I think this is just a much better, more impactful way to show your work, and you can't get this kind of size out of an iPad, so I like that it shows off immediately, you know, the detail. You can get right in there, you can look at it, it's clean, it's simple, it's beautiful, it has a nice weight to it, and the photos become, rather than this digital thing that you can't really touch, this actual thing right in front of you that has much more power than just flipping through photos on an iPad. And people tend to pay much more attention to a printed image than a, you know, 800 pixel iPad version. So for example, I went to a meeting with a client in New York, potential client at that point. I put a printed portfolio down in front of him. And I mean, he's in New York, he's got things to do. Everyone's running around like the hair's on fire up there. He looked through the book, he flipped through like 5 pages, and he's like, it's obvious, you know which way to point the camera. When are you available? I want to hire you. And that was all it took. So I don't know if that was a product of the book, but I'm sure if I went in there with an iPad and I was like, look, you can scroll through the things, the reaction would have been different.
Awesome. Well, nice job. I feel like this portfolio is great, and this is more geared towards commercial clients.
Yeah.
So let's grab the next book and see if there are any differences.
All right.
All right, so the next portfolio, we asked Ben Shirk to make for us, and he very well may be the world's most successful senior portrait photographer.
Like complete polar opposite of what I just showed.
Exactly. So let's check this thing out and see what his book looks like.
So something I want to say right off the bat. You open up that box and you immediately see this sort of polished, finished presentation package. It's almost like it's perfect for a retail client where, you open it up, it's got the name right on it. It's like this, wow, it's got this impactful thing. But you think I could ever pull it off with a client of mine? Unless it was like a gift for them.
Right.
A project.
Well, this is an interesting direction that he's going, because this does not appear like it's going to be a portfolio of a range of his work. It appears to me like this is going to be a book that he would have delivered to Allison.
Yeah.
He's still going to use it to sell potential clients, but he's basically showing this is what you will get.
This is a hypothetical example.
Yeah, whereas with your book,
Yeah.
you're showing a million different buildings that you've shot and saying this is what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
But your building's going to look different. This is kind of selling to me, in my mind, like, if you hire me, this is what you're going to get exactly. And the book's going to have your picture on the front. It's going to have your name. It's going to have the class of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So definitely two different routes, but you need to go different routes if you're trying to sell to different clients. So let's open this up and see what it looks like. All right, so right off the bat, you can tell that he's used a totally different type of paper. This is like super glossy paper. The seam is still the same. It's like a lay flat binding here.
He wastes no time. He doesn't have the cover page or anything. He just gets right into it.
Yep, exactly. And as I expected, it is the same girl throughout the entire book. So you're kind of selling your client on exactly what they can expect for X amount of money. And Ben has told me how much he charges for these sessions. It's incredible. So you'll probably be impressed with how many different options and looks there are for a freaking senior portrait. That's it's really amazing. Now, I'm not sure how many senior portrait photographers there are on the planet that do this many types of photos, but I think it's very. I mean, what in the world?
He must have taken the same girl and paid her for like a month to just go to all these different shoots.
I don't know. This literally could be one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But this could be one session. I don't know if it was done over the course of a day or what, but he does a lot of Photoshop stuff. Like, I'm not sure if this boat picture, I would imagine this was done in his studio and then this is Photoshopped together, I think. But something to keep in mind is that when somebody opens up your portfolio, you want them to be able to see everything that you're capable of doing. So, of course, that includes showing them your best possible work, but it also means showing a variety of work without leaving the genre.
Yeah.
Right? So not only is he just showing one senior in this book, which is pretty incredible. If I was a senior portrait photographer, I would just do the best of the best. You know, I wouldn't have 100 great pictures of this one girl. I'd probably have 2.
Yeah.
And then I'd show 80 other seniors. But if you have the ability to show one client like this, I mean, if you had the money for senior portraits or you had kids and you had to hire somebody, like, I imagine you would feel very comfortable that this photographer knows what he's doing, right?
Yes.
I mean, look at the variety here is just unbelievable. I'm starting to understand how I mean, look at these pictures. It's like a freaking Nike ad. I recently met Ben in Vegas, and he was telling me how much he charges, and I was like, that's insane. I can't believe that you can make that much money.
I mean, clearly he's got the variety and breadth of portfolio to kind of pull it off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if literally, if you have to pay...
I know nothing about senior portraits. And, I am not one that would ever take a senior portrait, but you have to look at that and say, he has an insane skill, the bag of skills he has. He can keep pulling different tricks out. It's pretty cool.
So an interesting choice that he's made here is that he has his logo and mark on the back of the book. Now, normally I would never suggest doing this, but I think this is a different type of book. I think this is the type of book that he shows potential clients when they're already at his studio.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to put his logo on the front of the book because they know where they are.
Yep.
And it's not like they're getting something in the mail from someone like you and they're like, now, who is this and what is this for? they are there and they just want to be able to justify the amount of money that
And
he's
like,
about
he
to
might
charge
just leave
them.
this on a coffee table in his waiting room, and people could sit there and,
And
be
I
like,
can-
oh my God, these are. He didn't have to say anything. You know
Exactly,
what I mean?
exactly. And then he can say like, "Oh, you want the Supreme package?
Or you
that
want the soccer
Allison
package or whatever,
got?"
yeah.
Yeah, just
$4,000,
add another
please.
$5,000 to that. So
And how can you say no to your senior?
I-
Your 18-year-old daughter. You know what I mean?
I know. It's like it's working on me now. Now I'm like, when I have kids, I got to send them over to him. So this is another great example of a portfolio, but he's gone a totally different route from you.
Yeah.
So depending on your genre of photography, definitely keep that in mind. But the basic premise is still the same. We're showing variety in our work without leaving the genre completely. We don't want to show dog portraits in our senior portrait album. And we're also showing our best work. And then Ben, he has done the unthinkable here and made a complete album out of one client, and every single picture looks incredible. So this book in particular, because it's all one female, I'm gonna just guess that this is geared towards females. He's chosen the glossy paper, which I think works for this type of book. I think you made the right decision for your book with the matte paper. Now, something that I've noticed about these shots is like each page is that particular look and theme. It's kind of similar to what you did with the buildings, where you might have two different buildings, but they have some sort of similarity.
Yeah, some composition or color.
So you could open the book to any spread and it's cohesive, on that page, but then you turn to the next page and it's a completely different vibe, but still cohesive by itself.
And the paper is very thick on this too. It's almost like a cardstock.
Yes.
Rather than a matte sort of heavyweight paper. This is almost like it's like cardboard or something.
Yes, that's a good point. All right, let's move on to the final book. This one's going to be wedding photography. All right, so the final book here was designed by Jason Vinson. He is an incredible wedding photographer, and he's a writer for Fstoppers. And as you can see, the presentation box, he's upgraded to the leather. And I think this is a good call, especially when you're trying to sell to wedding clients. They usually have more money to spend on an album than I would imagine a senior portrait photographer, and I would imagine most of your architectural clients don't purchase like thousands of dollars in books.
I'm buying it for them to look at, not for them to have as a keepsake. So.
Right, so I think it's important if you're a wedding photographer, go all the way for the show books and then give your clients the option to get something cheaper if they want. But usually your client's going to buy whatever you show them. That's what they're going to like. So let's open this thing up and see what he has here. All right, so the first thing that you'll notice, he's done a glossy cover, full image, no logo, and no bride or groom's name, no wedding date, just one image right off the bat.
Yep.
Interesting choice. Let's go ahead and open this thing up. All right, so inside, it looks like he's chosen the glossy pages as well. I think there's a lot of similarities with the wedding and with the senior portrait market. And a lot of wedding photographers end up doing both for that very reason. So I think this is a pretty obvious choice for wedding photographers. Once again, you'll notice that he has chosen to keep the spread cohesive.
Sort of thematically relevant, yeah.
But you will also notice that he has chosen, instead of making this album about one client and one wedding, he's chosen to show just, I would assume, his favorite images.
Yeah.
Love the variety here, but it's still all working together. The black and white, graphic looking images. It's really working. A full page spread.
The dance issue here. Yeah.
Very nice.
And he kind of goes from serious to lighthearted, back and forth. So there's a nice rhythm to it.
Now, I was a wedding photographer for like 12 years, and I actually had two books. I had one of like my all-time favorites, kind of like this design, but then I also had another book that was my favorite wedding of all time. And a lot of wedding clients are skeptical that if you show them just your best work, maybe anybody's capable of taking 5,000 images and walking away with 3. Yeah. But if you actually have to see an entire wedding, is every aspect of that wedding done well? And you have to admit.
I love this picture here, by the way. This is really cool.
Really? You have to admit that when you're shooting a wedding, a lot of times you don't even get all the shots you want, or maybe the groomsmen are getting ready in like the play school room at a church, and it just looks kind of junky in there, you know. So you don't want those images to be seen. So whenever you guys shoot that one wedding where everything kind of falls into place,
make that your presentation book.
Yeah, at least one of your presentation books. I think it's important to have a book like this as well that has the best of the best.
Right, just banger after banger after banger.
Yeah.
And then you have something that shows an entire project.
Yeah.
Or in this case, an entire wedding. But yeah, very much like he's got like, oh, we want ring pictures? Well, here's 15 ring pictures. And now you want the groomsmen? Here's a bunch of groomsmen. Here's cake pictures. So
yeah, I like the layout. It's a very interesting.
And the size lets him play around. He doesn't have any that really. This is one issue that I had with the giant size is I don't have many pictures that have an aspect ratio of like 11 by 28 or whatever it would be. You know what I mean? But he's effectively kind of used it and broken it up by, you know, he's got multiple pictures rather than just giant spreads. And I like the the panoramic aspect ratio that he's got going on here.
That's a cool shot. I like this blue that's down here. I wonder how that was done.
What that is.
I don't know. Very nicely done. So on the back here, he just has another image. Again, no logo, none of the client's information or anything. And I think that is because, once again, he is showing this to clients as he meets with them.
Yes.
So I personally don't know what the best decision is for your genre of photography, but I think if you're mailing your book out to people, I think you got to put your logo and your name on the book and stuff. Now, obviously, you probably have some letter that goes with the book.
I'll put a card in there or something that explains. And I've been emailing them back and forth, and they know it's coming.
Right.
So they haven't. It's not like I said. I'm not just sending them to them blind. It's like a marketing piece. It's more of like we've already been emailing, or it's an old client that I want to refresh them with some new work and say, here's what I've been up to. Don't forget about me. And so there's an existing relationship there already. It's not like I'm just sending them as a free mailer. You know what I mean?
Right. All right. So we have seen 3 different portfolios with very different styles and concepts on the way they were designed, and then of course the actual hardware and the way that they were built. Do you have any other tips for people who might be considering making a physical printed book?
Yeah, there's a bunch of tips that I can share, and I would say first, expect to not get it right on the first try. I don't know if you've had this experience, but the first book that you're going to make, it might look amazing for a day, and then you're going to start to see little issues, things that bug you. So it's good if you can afford to get almost a printed proof of some sort before you actually make the final book. That would be very helpful. It's also helpful to have a second eye.
Well, you could show people like a digital version of it before you send it to print.
Right, and I think getting a second set of eyeballs on that is so helpful because every time I do something in print, I see a problem with it that I have to go edit, or someone, my girlfriend or my mom, whoever it may be, or you, or whoever I show it to, this looks great, but what about ABC, XYZ? And you're like, why didn't I think of that? And when you're spending, $300, $400, $500 plus on a book like this, you really want to make sure before you make that investment that you've had multiple people see it, you've reviewed it. Don't just go into it blind and immediately hit purchase. So make sure that you do get some other eyeballs on it.
Here's something else to consider that took me a long time to figure out as well. We tend to see our photographs through the eye of like the person who took the photo and how difficult it was to take and all these things.
Right.
And it can blind us to the way the potential client sees the image.
Right.
And this is a huge deal in wedding photography especially. I remember taking pictures of like a bridal portrait or something that I just thought was incredible.
Yeah.
And I would show a mother, daughter sitting there, and they would go like, ugh, that dress is atrocious, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even, I don't know anything about dress trends, and I didn't know, or like, ugh, her arms look so fat in that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even look at her arms.
Right.
Like, the strangest details that you don't see.
And that happens in architectural photography too.
Sure.
I think I took an amazing photo, like, I hate that curtain. I'm like, I didn't even think about the curtain.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like...
And here's the most difficult thing to do, because you might love the photo.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 clients or 2 people that see it and point at the same thing, you got to pull it out.
Yeah.
You got to pull it out of there. And I will say, with the wedding book and with the senior portrait book, the photos that they have chosen to put on the cover are not my favorite photo by any stretch of the imagination. They are like towards the bottom of my favorite
Yeah,
photos.
of course.
Now, and I could be totally wrong, and maybe you have another opinion, and so you're never going to make everyone happy. But I think it's very important that you don't just choose your favorite images without asking friends, family, and then potential clients to tell you what their favorite photo is. Because I know when I was shooting weddings, a lot of the time, the photos that people said were their favorites were like these weird snapshot pictures that I just took, maybe with direct flash or something that I thought
got
were
their grandmother in
okay.
the photo or something.
Something, and I'd look at it and go, technically it's not very good, but they'd go, oh, I want that for my wedding. Or look at the emotion in that shot. And so those photos ended up making it into my albums and onto my website, like in the first few images, because they elicited, such a response out of people.
Like you said, we're looking at it from a technical point of view, like in architecture. All the lines straight? Are all the, is there a blanket out of place? Is something not perfect? The client, they might not even see that, or they might see something completely different. Like with weddings, maybe if you got an amazing shot of a bride, but it's a little blurry or out of focus, and you can tell at 100%, but the bride doesn't care, and it just got this perfect emotion. She doesn't care, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as far as she's concerned, you got it. You made her happy, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you guys are considering making a portfolio book, whether it's just for yourself, for you to have, that's nice too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of print out your work every few years and say, like, this is what I've been working on. Even if you're not a professional, it's just nice to kind of have it solidified. This is what I've been doing, and it's worth the work.
I love sitting at my desk looking at my work. It just becomes this real thing.
Yeah.
Compared to a website where you're always burning your eyeballs looking at a screen, but to hold it is a great experience.
But if you're trying to do this professionally, you have to print stuff. You have to print stuff out. This is going to set you apart from like all of the other amateurs out there who just love taking pictures but aren't going to spend the money or spend the time to actually design a professional book. All right, so I think we have learned a lot about portfolios today. We've seen 3 very different books for 3 very different types of clients, and there's a lot of different choices being made here, but for the most part, the concepts are the same. You want your best work. You want it to be like a really impressive looking printed book that somebody's going to actually be excited to look at. Just a few years ago, it wasn't that exciting to look at a book, but now they're so rare.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I can actually see printed out pictures rather than
on a computer.
Digital representations of the exact same shot. So that's really cool. Now, if you're considering printing out a book of your own, whether you're an amateur and you just want to print out and be able to kind of show what you've been working on for the last few years or whatever, or you're a professional and you're actually going to use this to go out and get more work, definitely consider Saal Digital. We really appreciate them sponsoring this video and helping us out with these books. They actually offer a sample book program where you can save 50%, but keep in mind you do have to make this a sample book, and that means you have to have text over the front cover. But if you're looking to save some money, this is a really good option for a portfolio. Thank you, Mike, for working to actually design a book, and the other 2 photographers as well. This has been great. If you're looking to print one yourself, you can use the code below and you can save money today on your very first book. For more free Fstoppers content just like this, you can head over to fstoppers.com. And if you'd like to check out our full-length photography tutorials, including the series Where Art Meets Architecture that we did with Mike Kelly, head over to fstoppers.com/store.